It's official, the Trump administration now holds the record for the longest government shutdown in US history. But how can a government shut down? The 1974 Budget Control Act is responsible for the shutdowns. According to the act, each year the Congress must agree upon the federal budget drafted by the president. This has to be done before the beginning of the fiscal year, which begins on October 1st. And when they can't agree on a spending bill, funding stops temporarily. The act was introduced to limit the powers of the president, who previously could refuse to spend funds appropriated by the Congress. For instance, Congress has already passed 5 of 12 appropriation bills, making sure that 75% of the government is funded. But the remaining 25% hasn't been passed, leading to a funding gap and a partial shutdown. Do shutdowns happen only in the US? Yes, they do. A shutdown that could lead to federal workers scrambling to make ends meet is unique to the US. In most countries, there are mechanisms to prevent scenarios that would lead to such a deadlock, in which citizens end up paying for political disagreements. For instance, in Australia, if the budget fails to be passed, the government is forced to resign or the parliament is dissolved. The same applies to many other parliamentary systems like Canada, New Zealand or Bangladesh. In countries like Germany, in the case of an impasse, German labor laws don't allow federal employees to be sent home without pay, unlike the case in the US. Currently, 800,000 federal employees, federal parks, among others, are caught in the crossfire over the US President Donald Trump's campaign promise to build a wall along the US-Mexico border. How often do shutdowns happen in the US? Since 1976, the government has shut down 21 times, with the current one being the longest. The second longest was in 1995 under former US President Bill Clinton due to a disagreement over funding for public initiatives. Clinton wanted to expand spending on federal health insurance, education and the environment. The previous 20 shutdowns have only lasted for an average of 8 days and didn't leave federal employees without pay. The frequency of the shutdowns has also increased over the last years, with this being the third time under the Trump presidency. So, are government shutdowns becoming the new normal in Washington?